Keir Starmer's EU aspirations in peril as Labour watches Germany's political earthquake. The recent German federal election has sent shockwaves through Europe's political landscape, raising pressing concerns for the UK's Labour Party and its leader, Sir Keir Starmer. As Labour prepares for a potential return to power, the downfall of Germany's center-left Social Democratic Party, SPD, under Olaf Scholz, serves as a cautionary tale, highlighting the fragility of left-wing governance in turbulent economic times. 99% of viewers watch but don't subscribe. If you enjoy our content, hit subscribe and stay updated. Your support means a lot. Germany, the European Union's largest economy and most influential political force, has undergone a dramatic shift. Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who took office in 2021 after ousting the long-dominant center-right CDU-CSU, has suffered a crushing defeat. His SPD has plummeted to third place, shedding 86 seats and losing over 9% of the vote. The center-right CDU-CSU, led by Friedrich Merz, has reclaimed its dominant position with 208 seats, securing a mandate to form the next government. Meanwhile, the controversial right-wing AfD, despite being politically marginalized for years, surged to second place with 151 seats, capitalizing on growing voter discontent. For UK observers, the parallels between Scholz's rise and Starmer's current trajectory are striking. Like Scholz, Starmer presents himself as a steady, pragmatic leader who promises change after a long period of conservative rule. The Labour Party, having spent over a decade in opposition, has carefully positioned itself as a credible alternative to the Tories, much like the SPD did against Angela Merkel's CDU-led government. Yet the German election results serve as a stark reminder that winning power is just the first hurdle. Maintaining public trust is an entirely different challenge. When Olaf Scholz first became chancellor, Germany was eager for a shift from the Merkel era. The SPD's campaign slogan, "A social policy for you," resonated with voters seeking dignity, economic stability, and progressive governance. However, once in office, Scholz's government quickly became entangled in internal coalition disputes, economic woes, and foreign policy dilemmas. Germany's economic downturn played a decisive role in the SPD's collapse. For years, the country had been a powerhouse within the EU, enjoying steady growth. But under Scholz's leadership, the economy slumped into recession, suffering its worst slowdown in decades. Rising inflation, energy crises exacerbated by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and budgetary mismanagement eroded public confidence. By the time his coalition collapsed over financial disputes in 2024, Scholz's fate was sealed. Labour strategists watching from the UK must take heed. The SPD's failure to communicate a clear vision, its over-reliance on coalition compromises, and its inability to manage economic turbulence all contributed to its demise. Starmer, who has worked hard to present Labour as a stable, responsible alternative to the Conservatives, must ensure his party does not fall into the same traps. Beyond the domestic parallels, the German election results also raise fresh concerns about Labour's positioning on the European Union. Starmer, a former Remain campaigner, has carefully walked a tightrope on Brexit, pledging not to rejoin the EU while still advocating for closer ties. However, Germany's political shift complicates this strategy. With the CDU-CSU returning to power, the UK could face a more rigid EU stance, particularly on trade, regulatory alignment, and migration. Moreover, the rise of the AfD, a party often critical of the EU, signals growing dissatisfaction within Germany itself. If Euroscepticism continues to gain traction across the continent, Starmer's hopes of fostering warmer UK-EU relations may face unexpected roadblocks. As Labour gears up for a likely general election in 2024 or 2025, the lessons from Germany are clear. Economic credibility is key. Labour must present a robust economic plan that reassures voters, especially in an era of financial uncertainty. The SPD's downfall was largely driven by economic mismanagement, a warning sign Starmer cannot afford to ignore. Clear messaging matters. Scholz's cautious, tactical approach left German voters uncertain about what the SPD truly stood for. Labour must avoid similar ambiguity by articulating a bold, distinct vision for Britain's future. Coalition risks. While the UK's first-past-the-post system differs from Germany's proportional representation, the dynamics of political alliances remain relevant. If Labour wins with a slim majority, it could face internal divisions reminiscent of the SPD's struggles with its coalition partners. Navigating the EU relationship. With the EU's political landscape shifting, Starmer must tread carefully in his approach to Europe, ensuring that any efforts to rebuild ties do not alienate UK voters who remain wary of further EU integration. To maintain long-term stability in government, Labour must proactively address key concerns that could erode public trust. Energy and inflation policies. Voters are increasingly frustrated with the cost of living crisis. Labour must outline clear policies to manage energy prices and curb inflation, learning from Scholz's failure to control economic instability. Defense and foreign policy. Global events, such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine, have reshaped voter expectations regarding national security. Labour needs a strong, decisive stance on international conflicts to ensure credibility on the global stage. Public sector investment. Starmer must demonstrate a commitment to revitalizing public services, particularly the NHS, without triggering economic fears over reckless spending. Adapting to political shifts. With the CDU back in power and Euroscepticism rising, Labour must be agile in its EU approach. Instead of framing the conversation around rejoining the bloc, Starmer should emphasize strategic cooperation while respecting Brexit realities. Climate policy and green energy. Voters, especially younger demographics, are increasingly concerned about climate change. Labour must present a forward-thinking environmental agenda that balances economic growth with sustainability. Housing and infrastructure. Addressing housing shortages and investing in infrastructure will be crucial to maintaining public support. Germany's housing crisis played a role in Scholz's decline. Labour should take note and propose innovative solutions. Immigration policy. The AfD's rise shows that migration remains a politically sensitive issue. Labour must develop policies that balance economic needs with social cohesion, avoiding both overly restrictive and excessively lenient approaches. Germany's election has redrawn the European political map, providing a sobering lesson for the UK's Labour Party. The SPD's dramatic fall from power serves as a stark reminder that winning elections is not the endgame. Maintaining voter trust and delivering on economic promises are the real challenges. For Keir Starmer, the message is clear. History may be poised to repeat itself unless Labour learns from Germany's mistakes. The path to number 10 Downing Street may be within reach, but whether Labour can hold on to power, should it win, is an entirely different battle. Labour must seize this opportunity to refine its strategy, avoid complacency, and ensure that its vision for Britain remains both compelling and resilient for years to come.